In London, we decided that the next European Social Forum will take place in Athens.
Well, I feel very happy because I was one of the people that believed that we could organize it. A year ago, I thought, well, maybe there is a big problem, maybe we won't be able to do it.
Since the beginning, a forum needs rooms, needs translations, needs website, needs a lot of things like that.
We have started as a team 14 months ago, since it's a huge project.
Anyone who's not attended yesterday's meeting, we're doing a quick one at the bottom of, at the back of the, over there. English, French? Ok. Essayez de vous organiser entre vous aussi pour pas trop travailler, mais vous allez beaucoup travailler.
My name is Greg Seiter. I'm German, but I live in France, and I'm actually French also.
Il y a deux options.
So here right now, I'm interpreting, and I've done the planning, and I ended up being the one handling the planning issues. Because I never said stop, but if you, at any time in BABELS you can participate in any process for as long as you want, as long as you can. You can help for 1 hour, help for a month, help for a whole year. So.
What is BABELS exactly?
It's a non-existing entity called a network. People can be 11,000 people, which is about the number of Babelistas we are at the moment, or 2 people wanting to do something specifically at one stage.
When did BABELS start?
2003 in Florence. Unofficially in 1999 in Seattle, because there's always been a need for interpretation, and up until 2003 it was either not done, either done on a completely unorganized base, or it was delegated to paying translation officers. So every time you say, can we have interpretation, people say, we can't afford it. So we said, let's try to make it affordable, so people who don't have the means can have the way to speak their own language, whatever their language might be.
We're not from the organization, we're just lending a hand, nothing more.
Are you excited about the forum?
Yeah, sure, I think it's a great idea. And we're very lucky that it came to Greece.
Oh!
Yeah, it's a shame. Anyway.
The basic idea of the social forum is to build a space where people come in, discuss, go out and organize campaigns. That was the idea, and you can see it behind the word, behind the lines in the Porto Alegre Charter.
At the beginning it was very simple, it was a co-optation. That means that in Brazil, 8 organizations decide to be the organizers. And they select the groups who will be members of the International Council. And after that, this group, selected group, select the other one. And it's an auto-select group who create the International Council. It's not an election, it's an auto-selection by the core group from Brazil, and little by little, more and more. Okay, that's create a lot of tension. You see what I mean? In Europe, we have another way to do the things. It's an open assembly.
Typically, the social forum, typically by the Charter of Porto Alegre, cannot take decisions, cannot decide that we will have a campaign, on the 5th of September against privatization of health systems. This is the idea, that social forums are not bodies that can decide. They're only spaces where people meet and discuss. Because the people that organized the World Social Forum were against political parties, thought that political parties had terminated, they were not able to organize anything anymore, and they thought that this wasn't time for organizing campaigns and counterattacks, but was a time to discuss what is happening. It was a counter Davos. The first Porto Alegre was counter Davos. And then we saw that this was getting bigger and bigger, and then people understood that we have to take decisions on doing things.
English? Is there an English available? English interpreter available? A language English?
We're not just a service provider like the people who bring the chairs. We are political activists doing a political work. So decisions are taken by consensus on a general discussion, which means sometimes it takes some time, a little bit long to take some decisions. It's very horizontal, so it has all the advantages of horizontality and all the defaults of horizontality. The practice is that, as always in a horizontal decision, in a horizontal group where there's no clearly marked hierarchy, the hierarchy congregates by itself. The one who is most available, the one who has more time to devote to the organization, the one who's at every meeting, the one who lives in the same city as the other people holding the meeting, ends up being the informal hierarchy. So last year in Porto Alegre there was a 2-day meeting just on that, where they said we have to break that. We have to completely redistribute horizontally the organization.
How do you select the translators actually?
Well, again, through an open process, we get requests from about 3 to 4 months before the forums. The local forum sends us the submissions from speakers, which allows us to set up vague programs. And then we start calling for volunteers. We have a database, and we look at that and we say, okay, he's volunteered, and here's A English, B Turkish, for instance. Good, we need one, let's take him. BABELS is funded by the social forum, so they're basically paying the tickets. But we have the same status as a delegation member, basically. Delegation members who are invited to the social forum, like people from Brazil or José Bové or whatever. When they arrive, they get they get lodging, food vouchers, and we said we don't want to be paid. We want to have the same as them. We have to wait for the forum to get going, organized, because they are the ones giving us their money. And I insist on that, they are the ones taking the decision. It's your forum, you do it. We can help you, but we're not going to do it for you. So if you fuck up, okay, you fuck up, but it's your decision, it's your work.
This is Christoforos Papadopoulos. I'm Aleka Krasopoulou. We are both members of the Finance Committee. We started off with a small group of about 100 people, both men and women, of course.
Ένα χρόνο πριν κοντά.
About a year ago.
Προοδευτικά με τις ανάγκες που παρουσιαζόντουσαν,
And
φτάσαμε
progressively,
τα
according to
500
the
άτομα.
needs, we reached 500 people that are members of the organizational committee.
Φυσικά αυτές τις μέρες που στείνεται η γιορτή είναι πολύ περισσότεροι.
And of course, these days, the people that are taking part in this in the organization are many more. There are 4 committees.
Που πέφτει η μεγάλος όγκος δουλειάς και η μεγάλη ευθύνη.
Which undertake the greatest load of the work.
Είναι η Οργανωτική Επιτροπή,
The Organizational Committee.
Η Επιτροπή Διεύρυνσης που προσπαθεί να βρει τις επαφές και να προσκαλέσει με τους οργανώσεις από την Ανατολική Ευρώπη και τα Βαλκάνια.
It's the committee that invites people from Eastern Europe and the Balkans.
Υπάρχει μια τρίτη επιτροπή,
There is a third committee,
η οποία είναι τα οικονομικά, που είμαστε κι εμείς.
the Finance Committee.
Υπάρχουν 2 ομάδες που έχουν μια αυτοτελή δραστηριότητα, που είναι τα BABELS και τα ALIS.
2 groups which have an autonomous action, BABELS and ALIS, the alternative interpretation system, which is being applied for the first time now.
Spain.
Germany.
Ah, Germany.
Πώς παίρνει μπρος αυτό?
Έχει φύγει. Έχει γίνει νεκρό και αυτό.
It's your first social forum?
No, no, it's not my first social forum. Hey, I'm an old woman. It's my... How many social... my fourth social forum.
Okay. And what are you doing here at the forum?
I'm voluntary, offering myself for the solidarity of, for the sense of solidarity of the social movement.
And what exactly do you do here?
Many things. We're trying to register people, to organize seminars, to bring chairs, to put announcements. It's a lunatic, but it's a wonderful lunatic.
And how is it going so far, the forum?
So far it goes very wonderful, very good. Of course there are problems, but hey, what the heck. This is the mentality that brought us out of the caves. Despite the mistakes, we go on, you understand? But so far it goes wonderful. And
can you say something about the problems? What kind of problems come
for
up?
instance, now we don't have electricity out of nowhere. And if people come and won't find their names, it will be a difficulty for us. But that's the true story, as you said. So it's life.
We have no governmental funds. Our funds have to do only with people, organizations, syndicates, and local municipalities. We have a budget that has already been released.
Ένα προσωρινό.
It's temporary.
Φανταζόμαστε να μην τον υπερβούμε πολύ.
We hope that we will not exceed the limits. It is there for everyone to see in the program. The budget is for about 800,000 euro, and we hope that it will not exceed 900,000 euro. The biggest part of this amount of money has to do with BABELS, ALES, and the solidarity groups. We think that about 40% of the budget will be covered by people and organizations. 20% comes from the syndicates. About 10% comes from the municipalities and prefectures. And we expect the rest to come from the sales of the different memoirs which are being sold here.
If the budget is being exceeded, who is going to pay for it?
He will go to prison, but it doesn't matter. Εάν υπερβούμε τον προϋπολογισμό, τι γίνεται?
Προσευχόμαστε.
We are praying. We hope that the syndicates and organizations that members of the movement will contribute enough so as some of us won't have to spend the rest of our lives in very closed areas, very restricted areas.
How decisions are taken?
It was, of course, public, complicated, but very transparent. The proper word is consulta from the Zapatistas movement. There was an open list on the net where we openly stated the problems and what had been done so far and how people could contribute to that. And slowly, gradually, sometimes a little bit more difficult than other times, we have solved all the problems that have come up. Typically, there is a 5-member committee that is in charge of the finance.
Αλλά δεν χρειάστηκε ποτέ να κάνουμε ψηφοφορία στην Επιτροπή.
But so far, there has never been the need to vote in this committee.
Και 39 νύχτες. Άντε ζαχαροσημωμένε, ζωντάνεψε!
Και το όνομά μου?
Ζαχαράκης. Ζαλιαρικό, ζαλιαρικό,
Alice was born out of the idea that an interpreter is professional is $600 a day minimum, and a professional booth is about $15,000. This means that if you are an international organization, or if you are an organization and you want to host an international event, interpretation is not affordable for you. We've solved the interpreter issue, and looking at the budgets of the social forums, we could see that, I don't know, 10-20% would go into booth things. So we said, after all, a booth is nothing but a piece of technology. Why can't we appropriate ourselves the technology, design, ask people who work in electronics and radio. So we said, let's come up with a cheap booth.
And the Greek did something I was not very confident on, because the radio FM, it's a quite tricky technology. It's really, the noise, it's bad, and the interference are very strong, and I was quite worried about the capacity to have a good enough technology for the sound.
Normally booths are digital, so you can have as many channels as you want, and you just hit a button. We said that's too expensive, so let's work with radio. Even in the most remote country in the earth, you can find radio technology and a transmitter, and it's cheap. And it's easy to make. You don't need to be an engineer. So originally a group in France from Rennes, designed the first transmitter, and that was then recycled into the project that was Alice. And other teams, like the teams from Turkey, we designed a transmitting equipment that has all the functions of a professional transmitting equipment, and for 1/10 of the price.
What they did was an incredibly good success if you look at the things at technical level, in a sense that works. I was not convinced that, but I was wrong, and they were right. That worked very well.
All the electronic equipment necessary for the interpretation, we have built it ourselves. To rent professional equipment necessary for an event in the size of a forum, the expense is around 500,000 euros, $500,000, just to rent it. We built it at a cost of 150,000, and it stays for the movement. Next year, the plan is to pack it and send it in Kenya, in the World Social Forum. Okay. You have to interrupt. I have to go somewhere for 5-10 minutes to check something, and perhaps we will continue later. Okay. When problems occur, they occur all at once. And you have to look at a million different places and solve a million different problems at the same time. That's the difficult part. But we knew that. We expected that this would happen.
And since when are you here? Since how many days?
2 weeks. We're here 2 weeks to test the system, install it, and get it ready. For the installation, we were about 15, and we actually managed to be up to 30, which is the number we need to support the system for the entire forum. During the entire process, we have started 14 months ago. Since it's a huge project, we need to the entire context of the interpretation is one of the most important aspects of the organization of a social forum.
Where do you sleep?
I don't think I will be able to sleep today. Things are going crazy. That's okay. I slept 3 days yesterday, 3 hours yesterday, and that was enough.
And what problems do you have during the day?
It's easiest to say the problems we don't have. Many problems. Equipment does not work. We don't have enough equipment in several places. We're not enough to do the job. It's a huge project. We have to be present in at least 30 different rooms. And the list goes on and on. Every moment something new happens. But it's going well. It's going well. I'm very optimistic because today I think it was a good day. It's the first day and we had some problems, but it was thumbs up in the end. Things worked. If we succeed, it's a big hope for the entire movement because it might be the first technical success of the forum. And everyone wants this.
Are you proud that the forum is in?
I'm very proud. Yes. Yes. I'm very proud of the work we have done. And the important thing is what will leave behind. What the day after the forum, what will be if the situation will be better for us fighting for a better everything, for a better Europe, a better world, and so on.
You were supposed to fill in for.
We have around 500 interpreters, and we are going to have 25 languages, but 19 active.
3 is German.
Yeah, 2 is English.
2 is English.
1 is
Spanish. 1 is Spanish, and I think that's all we have. Yes. And then if other languages come
So this is I would say maybe the major problem, that we cannot prepare. So just to give an example, we are going to have around 200 seminars, and we have 40 seminars or texts or something that they sent us, not really in advance. So some yesterday, some 2 days ago.
No problem. Okay. Turkish problem. What is the frequency? Channel 4.
German.
Channel 4. No, I'll into English.
Okay, and then I'll put
You'll
it
take away and you translate it into German.
from channel 4. Sie macht das dann, wenn die Deutsche.
One of the most important things to say is that we are doing this because it's a political choice, and we are not just there. We don't want to just go to the forums as a service. Let's say, okay, we go there, we provide interpretation, and then we go back, and that's it. No, we get involved, and we are working for the forums only. We are not, let's say, a free service for anything. It's for the forums.
But so far, how is it going?
Good. It's going really well. It's much better than 2 years ago. Even though it seems very chaotic, it's actually gotten better, which is maybe hard to believe, but it has.
What is better now?
It's more organized, the equipment works. In Paris 2 years ago, the equipment didn't work, people didn't show up, half the booths were empty, no one knew what was going on. A lot of people had never translated before. Everyone I've worked with is a student or a professional, so that's really nice. So you can really rely on each other. Yeah. Wait, you have to write down the frequencies that were in.
Yeah.
Okay, 3 is
No. Please check all of them. Please check all the frequencies. One by one.
Okay. Well.
At least for those who have the German translation, it might be just a problem how you hold this thing. At least I had a very good transmission. I don't know.
Στην πραγματικότητα, η παγκοσμιοποίηση, αυτό το οποίο βλέπουμε φανερά να κάνει σε όλο τον κόσμο.
Bueno, modu laburrean, esango dut orain arte esandakoa, pixkat terrorismoaren aurkako borroka hori.
Now, interestingly, the UK
and the US lists do allow a limited form of appeal.
Against human being, against the majority of the people living in the countries,
and this led to quite
against
a
the
big
environmental
public campaign.
development.
Hortik aurrera inbeste neurri eman ziren terrorismoaren aurkako borroka horretarako, baina egia da ere, ez zirela momentu horretan pentsatu neurri guztiak.
Έφυγε ο Ζαχαράκης με το κεφάλι σκυφτό, γιατί τέτοιο πράγμα ήταν αδύνατο να γίνει. Ούτε το πιο δυνατό παλικάρι δεν θα μπορούσε να τα καταφέρει. Όχι ο Ζαχαράκης, που ήταν ζαχαρένιος. Αλλά εκείνη η βαριαναστένασε. Θυμήθηκε τον Ελληνικό.
My name is Mayo. I came from Barcelona and I am an activist researcher. My main task here in the ESF in Athens is to organize the memory of this forum. I am part of a working group that depends of the European Preparatory Assembly. That it's a working group that take care of the systematization of the knowledge that this event produce.
My name is Richard Queskin. I'm one of the members of a Linux user group here, which we call Helog, which means Greek Linux user group. And we were asked to set up computers in the media center that we are in now, so that journalists, when they needed to send off some things, that they could come here and do that.
In this working commission, we are around 15 people active. I'm responsible of two projects. One project is to build a yearbook on social movements in Europe. This yearbook is a wiki system in which we dynamize surveys on several issues. The other project is a library of social transformation. If you have an article, you can upload and put it in the library, and you can also download a lot of materials that you could be interested in.
I'm neither a trade union member or a political party member, but I'm just one of those people who's interested. So as a committee member, we were taking decisions, what equipment we would need and how much money we should ask from the European Social Forum, and so on. The computers that we brought, we were already given those computers. There were donations from companies that had renewed their equipment and they didn't need the older ones. We were able to take an older machine and to run very new software on it.
The other relation that I have with the forums is that I have been very active in organizing autonomous spaces, because politically I feel more affinity with these kinds of participations of the forum. We call it the strategy of one foot in, one foot out. We don't feel very comfortable in the way the social forums generally are organized, but it's not just that we don't feel comfortable, it's also that it requires to go to the European assemblies, that there are every 2 months, so you have to do an European travel and these kind of things, and there are some sectors that cannot do that because they don't have the resources to do it. So we organize more in the last moment and with other dynamics, so we feel more comfortable in other kind of spaces. So the autonomous spaces are part of the forum, but have some autonomy on the organization.
Well, we're here usually from about 9:30 in the morning, some of the people who come, and then maybe the last ones are leaving at about 10:30 or 11 at night. I've been here for some of the days for almost all of those hours, not quite all of them, and others have come for shorter times because they're working. Now the weekend, so hopefully some of the people who were working will be able to come more. Things like that, so everybody is sharing whatever they can do.
The autonomous spaces were especially great in the London ESF. They were really have very good experience because also inside the ESF of London there were some conflicts between the horizontal and the vertical, so a lot of people feel the need to...
What do you mean by horizontal, vertical?
Horizontal and vertical is two models of organization in which one feels more comfortable with delegation and the other one, the horizontals, feel more the need of an assemblearian dynamic.
I've been involved with mathematics and computers most of my life. I'm a family person, but we've done a little bit of left-wing things over the years. We've been on some marches. We've participated in some other sorts of conventions, but not in the way that I'm doing here, but just as a member, as somebody who would go and see things. But other than that, I would say my personal political background is very small.
We wanted to do a memory of the ESF in London, but it was very difficult because we asked them to, for instance, to have the database of organization subscribed to the London ESF, and they didn't want to give us because they don't have the culture of sharing and the culture of contamination. They were with more like a bureaucrat thinking, say, no, we have to be efficient, we have to do this event for London, but they were not, the people organizing it, they were not inside the political process that is the ESF, so it crashed. This time I'm not involved in organizing autonomous spaces because I am very much focused on this working group of systematization of the knowledge, and also because the Greek organizing committee are more inclusive, so some problematics that were more present in the London ESF were not as difficult in this case, so I didn't feel the need.
We do help people communicate political ideas. However, we do that in as neutral a way as possible, meaning that we don't necessarily agree with any of the ideas that are being said or communicated, but it is also, I believe, a political statement to say that everybody has a right to communicate their ideas and to be understood, no matter how much we agree or disagree with these ideas.
I think it gives us a lot of humility too, because we get to know what it means to work together with other people and having a specific role to play while not imposing our ideas. Even though we have some specific ideas, we manage to say what we think without hurting others, without actually imposing. And we learn a lot from the ones we work with, basically. And not mentioning the fact that this is also a very good training for us as interpreters, because we get to work a lot in different types of situations, different vocabularies. So it is just the best we can wish for, basically.
I think it's a general tendency to think that when one has done a lot of work, one deserves to have more of a say. However, there are some people inside who disagree fundamentally with this. I know in other movements, people who disagree with it tend to be excluded. In BABELS, they're not excluded. Even though some people are frustrated because they have done a lot of work and it may be questioned, justly or unjustly, but it is still possible to have the debate, and I think that shows pretty much that since we are here to help people communicate, we also help ourselves communicate. It's also a nice feeling from what I've seen that newcomers feel that they do have a say, and in my experience generally in other political movements or in other movements, When newcomers arrive, they are told this is how things always worked. And here, even the new people can ask ideas, make suggestions, and so on and so forth.
And have you been enjoying it so far? Yes.
I'm going to go there in 1 month.
Oh, really?
Yes, to visit a friend, yes.
That's great. So,
And anywhere you want.
okay, so it has to be here. Where?
Down there, or?
No, there I can
Yeah, it's very kind of hard.
Okay.
Oh, very nice.
Okay.
Perfect. And then picture.
Okay.
Okay, Savannah, thank you so much.
Thank you. See you.
Bye.
The ESF is organized through the European assemblies, but the European assemblies happen every 2 months. So on the ground you have Greek people doing the job. So all these committees I'm talking about, they're all Greek. On the organizing committee, I wasn't able to spend a lot of time, but I am one of the persons that I followed the process of the European Social Forum from the beginning, of 2002. So the basic thing I do is to coordinate with foreign delegations and solving problems, everyday problems here in the ESF. And generally speaking, I do a lot of traveling to the EPA meetings and going to other countries, meeting different groups and networks. I'm a doctor, I'm a psychiatrist, so I can usually I can afford my expenses. So sometimes I get some money, sometimes I don't. I never belonged to a party, and I don't think it's I've never belonged to a party. But my network is it's a political activity for me. It is a severe political activity for me. In the beginning, they tried to make a balance of power inside the way it will be, inside the organizing committee. These people were delegated from their networks or the political parties, but they didn't really work for their political parties or for the networks, and a lot of times they clashed with the parties or the networks that delegated them. They felt a kind of loyalty to the event, and that makes them a little bureaucratic, because they worked in a way that other people could not understand, could not really help, could not even control them what was happening. The good thing is that these people were radical, and they were people that we could trust, even if we didn't understand what they're doing, or sometimes we disagreed. Because when you disagree with this kind of people, he says, okay, you come and do the job, but you can't do the job because you don't have enough time, or you don't know how to do the job. So this is one thing that I think happens in all the European social forums. You build a small kind of bureaucracy. But they didn't really feel as individuals. They felt that there was, they had a task, they had to organize the fourth social forum. So whatever they did, they felt they were doing it for that. And that's true, they made it. And for a while, it was like there was a small, they were a little autonomous. You know, they didn't give an account generally to the networks to the political parties, because when you have a huge organizing problems, these people that work on 12 hours a day, they have a kind of speed that nobody, if I don't work 12 hours a day, I cannot understand how the problems are being solved or how things are changed. So you have 10 specialists that know how to solve the problem or know the total problem or icon of what's happening.
I think the first is better than the second then.
If you're going to Sunday, it's not the best idea for somebody else.
My group and other people, we participated in this coordination committee, but we were against the idea of having a political body that would control or be the leadership. And I think we succeeded to, our basic argument was that the coordination should go through working groups and horizontal ways of deciding. There's a second kind of organizing committee, and that is the core of the people that have worked very hard for this success. It's something like 10 people. It is a close circle, 10 people that have worked a lot for a year. And these people, the last 2 or 3 months, are working 12 hours a day. The core is basically people that are being paid from the ESF offices we made in Athens, or from my network for the political parties or whoever. Anyway, they send people to this core. And around this core, there is another like 30 to 40 people that participated wherever, because they're not able to spend so much time. This second circle of 30 to 40 people, that is basically volunteers and people that just gave their time whenever they could. And then I could say there's a third circle, that is something like 200 people that the last 2 weeks were staying here, or if not sleeping here, they were coming here in the morning, in the afternoon, whenever they could. And they were doing, building the kiosks and bringing the water from the van to and cleaning the tables and all this kind of thing. This thing really worked, and that's why there was no frustration. People were very happy, and it was very calm, and the things came out. I mean, we did best as possible, but it was, and it's really organized in a, it's not a hierarchical way, and that's why it's more, it really worked.
My name is Haris Golemis. I am the director of Nikos Poulantzas Institute, which is an organization associated to the Greek party of Synaspismos, coalition of the left. Nikos Poulantzas Institute is also a constituent part of the Greek Social Forum, and the Greek Social Forum is also part of the Greek Organizing Committee, which organizes this fourth European Social Forum. Initially, while preparing this event, I was a member of the program committee. So what we had to do is to try and merge the different proposals that were coming from various organizations in Europe regarding seminars, workshops. We did that, and then we were allocating the people to the rooms, and that was, in fact, that was my main charge.
For a meeting which will take place later.
Well, during the last 3 days, I am also involved in preparing the Assembly of the Social Movements. As you may know, in all social fora, either the World Social Forum or the European Social Forum, no decisions are taken. No final declaration is issued. The forum is a space where different and networks meet, exchange ideas, and prepare their actions for the future.
The European Preparatory Assembly are very frequent. We have 3 at least by year. From 2002, the 6 years, we had 16 European Assemblies, 16 of 3 days. People know each other, we have a lot of discussion, fight, great things, bad things, the life. But that gives really the possibility to have a strong confidence between the people, and the European body is really strong, and that helps a lot. At world level, it's not the same. Because here it's strong for two reasons. The continent is small. It's quite easy to travel, even by train or whatever. And politically, at least without the USA, the Russia, I'm whole. In the West Europe, we have the European Union with a common problem or a common frontier or whatever, and that gives us a lot of common things to talk about.
Preparatory assemblies are instruments of the European Social Forum, are not instruments of the assembly of the movements. Okay? So probably I made a mistake before mixing the terms. When we say European Preparatory Assembly, EPA, we mean the various meetings which take place between two social fora. So in London, we decided that the next European Social Forum will take place in Athens. Between the period we took that decision and the actual event, which took place in Athens, we had different preparatory assemblies, EPAs, as we called them. We had in Vienna, we had it in Istanbul, we had it in Athens, of course, and probably I miss, and in Frankfurt, of course. Frankfurt was the last one before here. So these are the EPAs.
We are in a new way to do politics and to do common action. And the growth of network, the world of networks is a very strange world. You have place for big decisions. The European Assembly, Preparatory Assembly, it's really the main body in which one you can take a discussion or have a discussion on main problem. But as usual, in this kind of place, you have things coming from the past and difficulty to raise new issue. People are talking too much about the program of the forum. I think it's quite useless, but they have difficulty to talk about this kind of things. But we will do it a little bit. But if you have a big problem, it's inside the European Preparatory Assembly. But before that, you have a lot of small things in the people talking with friends, chatting, exchanging mail, phone, and so on. And the idea is circulating like that. And if it's possible to have a move without passing through the European Preparatory Assembly, it's better.
You know, there are two ideas which contradict each other in the European social movements, according to my view. And I would say that the one is a proposal that wants the European Social Forum to be wide. I don't say as wide as possible, but I say wide, which means that not only people of the radical left or the revolutionary left or whatever section of the left is participating, but also progressive trade unionists who say that they are social democrats, okay, or even Christian groups, or whatever. And although we want, as myself coming from the radical left, I do what I can so that the forum is as radical as it can be. I don't want to exclude the other parts of the movement, which are less radical than I think I am, okay? And some other people think we are. I think that there is another view in the movements who believe that the movements should be should have some kind of centralized leadership, put it in inverted commas, but anyway, to be imposed to the European Social Forum. There is a disagreement with that, because we don't want to be leaders of the movements.
And this model is quite efficient, but also with problem, because who have money to go to the European Assembly, it's quite tiring, it's quite obscure and opaque. And also we have a system with a very good, but we can create some inequalities. We moved from city to city. because it's open. When you are in Istanbul, half of the room is Turkish. You are in Berlin, half of the room is German. It's a very good integrating tool, but in the same time, the real power, it's between the people who know the music and the people who know the rules, the people who are here from the beginning.
But the decisions, how are they taken?
Consensus.
What does that mean?
The consensus is one of the characteristics of this new network, is a way to decide. The consensus is not the unanimity, and the consensus is a very powerful tool. And it's not a tool without correlation of forces. In the consensus, some groups are more strong than others. Because if you don't accept their volunteer, they leave. And for example, if someone said, okay, the big unions will leave, people say, oh my God, we prefer to have them, and we have to listen what they ask for. If a small group of 2 girls said, oh, we leave, okay, girls, bye. You see, and obviously the weight of each one is not exactly the same.
So consensus means everyone has to agree to this decision, or what does that mean?
No, that means that no one has to refuse. Well, it's not the same.
The side I belong in, which is the Greek Social Forum, believed, together with the majority of activists from other parts of Europe, that we should leave the networks and individual organizations to structure the program of the forum. That means that we changed the way the European Social Forum has been organized in the previous 3 occasions, in Florence, Paris, and London, especially in London, which things were more difficult. Anyway, and we didn't have the so-called plenaries. Look, what's the problem with these kind of arrangements? The different people belonging in different factions of the left in the organizing committee, either the national or the European one. They want to put their people in these plenaries. So we spent hours in the previous fora, both in the World Social Fora, which I follow since its start in Porto Alegre, and during the European Social Fora. We spent hours to find the right quotas on national basis and then on ideological basis. Okay. So we were sitting down in different EPAs, in different preparatory assemblies, and we were trying to make any kind of compromise, saying that, well, we shall have Kalinikos from SWP, but then we shall also have somebody who is against his views, and we shall have 2 British and 3 Spanish and 2 Italians, and this, I think, is the best prescription for a forum to degenerate into some kind of compromises among factions and whatever. So since the World Social Forum in India, things have changed. And it has changed in the European context for the first time in Athens. So for the first time in Athens, we don't have plenaries.
But how was this decision taken?
The decisions are taken by those who organize the seminars and the workshops. They decide among themselves who will speak in the seminars they organize, who will speak in their workshops. No central committee exists who will tell who will speak where.
La première, qui nous rassemble tous ici, c'est évidemment le libéralisme.
Well, if somebody is interested to follow a discussion on, I don't know, on monotheistic religions, he would rush to this event. He wouldn't be obliged to be in a huge room with big loudspeakers, listening to a big plenary where you could have the 3 or 4 big names of the anti-globalization movement.
I'm Susanne Schwarz. I'm from Mosaico here, from my organization. And I just had a seminar here and it was really nice. Mosaico is about, the aim is a new learning culture. And the aim is to have social, political and ecological issues or like themes through arts, or not really through arts, but through a creative method of seminar. So it's not really a seminar, it's interactive. You work with heterogene groups and it's experience-based. I did it with my colleague, but it was not that we leaded it, as I just said. There was also an interaction, and we first we just presented Mosaico, and it was really good, and there were about 11 people, and it was really nice because we all came from different countries, and then they had a task, they had a game, and they were not allowed to speak, and it was really a very good group experience.
Did you have to pay anything?
No, we did not pay because we don't have a store. If you have a store, you have to pay 100 euros, but it was too much for us because we are just beginning with our organization and we don't want to spend 100 euros to show who we are. From the organization, it's quite good, but I think the only problem is that the space where everything takes place is too big. It's a bit too big, this area, and so everything loses itself. And also yesterday there were 3 stages with music, and it was quite strange, really.
Do you think it was useful, the forum, for you and your organization?
Yeah, I think it was. I'm still a bit disappointed, really, because I thought, because it was not written in the English program, and if it would have been written in the English program, definitely there would have been more people. But now it turned out really, I'm lucky, it turned out really quite good.
Okay, ciao.
Ciao.
Anyway, so the first thing I think now is to decide if we write a text, to give the responsibility to prepare the text to 2-3 people, and tomorrow we go to discuss the text, and in the same time with the outcome of all the networks, we decide if we have the possibility to say we have a priority 2-3 questions, and after we have a lot of other initiatives, but these are the initiatives that all the movement organize.
We need to think more than just simply about the technical task of organizing the ESF, and think about what political initiatives we can take. One initiative that I can think of, which I think is important and would not bring about large demonstrations, is precisely the question of migrants in Europe and the issue of Fortress Europe.
What are the first things and what are the last things? And to write just some lines, not a political text, we will not be able. I think maybe a small group can prepare just some lines. And that means we have to say something about war and peace. That means we have to say something about social questions.
Everybody expects a political text, a decision, what we are doing for 2 years now.
We will definitely have to go out of this room with a small working group. This is the first thing. This group should first have to prepare the agenda of the Sunday meeting. This is very important. This is more important even from the text that we have to write. We have to decide what we will discuss, because otherwise it will be a mess. Party people, The global movement.
After global and progressive
And
movement.
about global and other progressive social movements or other another movement. So outer global and other movements. And other progressive movements. Some very important events are already on the agenda. In January 2007, the World Social Forum will meet in Nairobi. The growth of the African social movements is crucial for the world. Building for the WSF will be an opportunity to fight against the European Union.
No, it's the European. It's
The European
neocolonialism.
Exploitation and neocolonialism.
We're saying exploitation.
What was in the original?
I think it was exploitation.
Against European exploitation
And neocolonialism.
Yeah, no the. Okay.
No the.
Yeah.
Oh, no the.
We will mobilize for a complete withdrawal of troops from Iraq.
Comma and not with comma. It's the same sentence.
Say that again.
It's the same sentence.
Which?
We will mobilize the
You want it in the same paragraph?
Yeah.
We will mobilize for a complete withdrawal of troops from Iraq, right, against the threats of the new war in Iran, against the occupation of Palestine, against the decasualization and the dismantling of public services, for migrants, refugees and minority rights.
Minorities?
Yes.
Minorities' rights.
Yeah. And then,
In proper English, it's S apostrophe. Now, people don't do it anymore, and nobody notices. So, if
you see, we learned.
it's considered almost archaic to put, but you know,
good news.
My wife would put it. Who's Scottish.
I do not think that we should have a one-hour discussion of the text tomorrow, because if we do, we will only have people get up and say Palestine should be in, climate should be in. Those are the people who will get up to speak in the networks. I think that we should have a brief introduction from the chairs, and that we should go straight to people talking about how they will fight. I also think this is important from climate change, but from many other networks. We do need the very small one-paragraph text that we have put to be put in a longer text that will be put out tomorrow, that will go out on the internet, that will be the official decisions of the forum to support what we are doing.
The mass of people at the ESF whose only opportunity to make any decision is at the Assembly of Social Movements should not be entitled to discuss it for 4 days, or for 3 days, or for 4 hours, or even now, according to Jonathan Neal, for 1 hour. 1 hour? We know that there are differences in this movement. I was at the Anti-Imperialist Assembly this morning, where it was quite clear that the majority of the people there support the Iraqi resistance, support the Nepalese revolution, and want to express that, and are here to express that. At the same time, there has been a debate about the structures that we need in order to go forwards, about whether we can construct some form of more permanent body between the social forums which can coordinate resistance. These are contentious issues. Why should they not at least be discussed for 1 hour at the Assembly of the Social Movements? The reality is that it's only by a democratic process of debate and discussion that we can possibly go forward. Now, I'm suspicious of the motives of someone who can say we do not need a text one day, and then the next day can say, here is the text, and we should not even discuss it for 5 minutes.
The problem we have is now, because we are very late on our job, is that we have the first part of the text, but this is, in reality, it is only the first part of the text. And after we explain that the second part is a presentation by each network and campaign. It's better to explain like this. And then the debate, if possible.
We can't say we are in a hurry, and for that we take this text and we put this text tomorrow as the first text in which we all agree, because it's not true. Wait.
Excuse me, but I mean, you are insulting people
No. Wait.
Did I say that?
Wait. No. Don't stop me. Don't stop me. Wait. About this text, we discussed for 2 days about priority, and a part of discussion said we don't have to put priority in the agenda. Here, unfortunately, there is one priority. I say G8, it's an interesting, a big manifestation, but it's in 14 months. We can put this proposition in the list, but not the first place. Today we discuss in this big seminar about the war, and yesterday and we say the priority is the war. The first thing to put inside is the war, and we have a manifestation against the war. We propose all together with a big seminar. We have to put away the question of G8, and tomorrow we decide the list. Who is in the first place, war or G8?
I think the text is extremely vague, as all our texts are, because they're trying to avoiding debate. The fact is, we do have differences on all these things. Why should we only have these differences in this room? The people who've attended the forum have heard debates in all the seminars. Why should they not hear a debate in the Assembly of the Social Movements? It is undemocratic not to actually allow people to speak and express their differences about text in the Assembly. To say that it's attempt at consensus, when there is the consensus only of shutting people up and not allowing them to speak. And I think that is a disgrace. It falls below bourgeois democracy, doesn't rise itself above it at all. We waste a lot of time at those EPAs just discussing structure and who's going to speak at various meetings. We could be actually helping to coordinate and focus the movement and bring it forward. So I think we need to discuss the preparatory assembly system, and some replacement for it, which actually brings some coordination into existence, and also even a permanent coordination of people that we trust, who we say, right, when something happens they can, with consultation, speak in the name of the European Social Forum and call for action on something.
We do need to have a proper debate on these political questions, not just at the end of the day like this, because we're not taking ourselves seriously. Comrades spend a long time organising an event for other people to debate so many issues, when we have this central question of the way forward to debate ourselves and don't give ourselves any time.
We all know that in the few hours we have, and it was always like this, never has been, and there will not be tomorrow, the possibility to have a democratic discussion. Democratic discussion would say 2 days of discussion.
On the 7th of May, the only thing we have, the only activity, is the Assembly of the Movements. This is the first time the Assembly of the Movements is unofficially but officially inside the ESF.
Today we have a team of professionals, basically. So there is no problem in anybody speaking their own language in the most abstruse way possible. Please don't speak foreign languages badly, because you're going to test our nervous system. Speak your languages properly, but not merdique Français and not shit English. Please. You can speak Finnish, Dutch, Slovenian, Portuguese, Russian, Polish, Slovak, Czech, Arabic obviously, Macedonian, maybe, no, not Macedonian, definitely not Macedonian, and Turkish, of course. You can speak Turkish and it will be interpreted into every language.
We, women and men, from social movements across Europe, came to Athens after years of common experiences, fighting against war, neoliberalism, all forms of imperialism, colonialism, racism, discrimination and exploitation, against all the risks of an ecological catastrophe.
Depuis l'émergence, depuis la naissance du capitalisme jusqu'à aujourd'hui, l'Afrique a souffert de l'esclavage, du colonialisme, des guerres.
Per la fine della lurida occupazione della Palestina. Bush and his supporters are down, but they are not out.
Δουλέψαμε με βασικούς άξονες να έχουμε ένα φόρουμ ανοιχτό στον καθένα.
This is one of them. This is a huge victory for the international movement.
Ενάντια στους αντιδραστικούς και υπέρ του λαϊκού κινήματος. Σας ευχαριστώ πολύ.
Pour dénoncer l'augmentation à l'échelle internationale des discriminations, de l'exclusion, de la répression, de la criminalisation des sans-papiers, sans toit, sans terre, des femmes, des handicapés, et pour exiger un véritable partage des richesses et bâtir de nouveaux droits tels que le droit à la liberté de circulation et de s'installer, le droit à un revenu décent universel garanti pour tous, le droit à un logement, le droit à une terre, le droit à un monde plus juste, à un environnement plus sain.